It's been a little bit over 3 weeks since Brian Thomas, you can see right there, Thompson, I should say right there, was murdered. And there's been this ongoing conversation about who is to blame for the rage against the healthcare industry, and CEOs and pundits have been weighing in, and social media has literally not stopped talking about it because there's literally never been a criminal in American history that has had more photos taken of them on a daily basis. But the entire time, we're just kind of assuming we know what people think about it through social media activity. But now there's actual polling. What do people think about this killing and about the rage? Where do they place the blame for all that? Well, we actually have some answers now. And so, what is the share of adults who say they believe certain factors are responsible for his death? Well, the highest at 78% is the individual who committed the killing, who obviously we believe is Luigi Mangione. That's pretty high. It's not 100%. Which is interesting considering he appears to have shot him. But anyway, 69% say coverage denials by health insurance companies. So that's almost as many people. 69% of adults in America saying the coverage denials are why he died. That's what's responsible. And I don't know what number I would have placed to that if you'd asked me before knowing. I would have assumed that the social media stuff was probably a little bit out of step with the American public, just in the way that Twitter always is. But obviously there's a lot of rage out there, but that is really high. Health insurance company profits is just as high, 67%. And generalized wealth or income inequality has majority approval. Like, I know, Brett, you used to talk about your segment, All Americans Agree, about the stuff that we actually agree on. Well, that's about as much agreement as we see on anything. And on a topic that would seem pretty divisive, people really do think these sort of meta things about health insurance and costs and inequality are theoretically responsible for murder. What do you think?
Well, I like to start off every day doing something cheerful, like today watching The Sopranos, and it's the episode where Tony, spoiler alert, is in the hospital. And in 2003's episode of The Sopranos, the mobster calls the insurance lady a mobster. These themes are of America, have been around in pop culture and in the American discourse for a long time. The sad part is we just don't really have the educational basis to contextualize it with an alternative. But regardless of people, whether they know about universal health care or anything, they know that the insurance company is a bunch of vultures just trying to let you die so they can make $20 more. That's what's happening. And I think this is the clearer bit for me is the of course, but maybe. From Louis C.K.'s bit where he's like, of course, it is horrible to just shoot a guy on Fifth Avenue and hope to get away from it. Of course. But maybe people just are tired of this healthcare problem where, people get their claims denied by folks whose job it is to deny your claim. Period. Yeah. That's it. That's my thought of it. Of course. I mean, my mother-in-law asked, like, what do you think about the Luigi thing? And I was like, killing someone is horrible. And that goes for the assassin and the insurance company.
Yeah. Look, a lot of money. The right takes a lot of the right. The millionaire billionaire class, the 1%, whatever you want to term it, takes a huge sum of money in an absolute sense. It's basically nothing for them that goes into the media and everything and funds Fox News and independent right-wing media, all that, to get people to not draw the correct conclusions about why their life is what it is and to not blame the right people. Instead, blame people traveling from Guatemala or whatever. And that has worked really well for them for the most part. But like, at a certain point, I think people will start to see through that. Some, maybe not everyone, maybe not enough to sway an election just yet, but like at some point, people start to light torches and some people start to sharpen pitchforks or whatever. Like that's happened in a lot of societies. America, like our elites think that they can totally avoid that historic pattern that we've seen play out over and over and over again. And I don't say this is one of those people like how the right's always like, oh, there's gonna be a civil war, wink, wink, when they want it. I don't want that. I want us to solve the problem rather than get to that point. But they think they can have their billions and eat it too. And I don't think that that's how it generally works out.
Right. The house always wins at the casino. Why aren't people always lighting casinos on fire and robbing them? It's for two reasons. And I would say that like the American government and media ecosphere does both. It's one, they say you're going to get murdered if you try that stuff. And two, there's a possibility that you could win. Like that's like in America, it's like, listen, America's kind of the casino. You could strike it rich in America, but don't try to cheat at this casino because we're in charge and we'll blow your head off. Like that's it. And the last thing I'll say is, we shouldn't get in trouble for saying stop. We're not saying we like the people with the pitchforks. Like I'm not saying go grab a pitchfork and just murder people. But I also don't understand why I get in trouble for telling people, and people like us get in trouble for telling people like maybe you shouldn't do the stuff that makes people want to grab a pitchfork.
Yeah.
Like why do you get in trouble for that in America? You probably shouldn't. You should be celebrated and thanked for pointing out what's corrupt about the system so you could fix it and so it doesn't keep victimizing real, true red-blooded Americans.
100%. We'll close with just, if we can bring up graphic 4 really fast, what is like floating around in people's minds as they're giving those answers we showed you before. 43% of respondents had to pay some or all of the cost of health insurance out of pocket. 28% were unable to receive recommended care. 39% are right now in an ongoing issue. 40% of the country right now is experiencing some sort of ongoing issue with their health insurance. Again, maybe us talking about the pitchforks is not the most responsible thing for generating them. Maybe it's that. Thanks for watching our video. Did you know that you can support our show by becoming a subscriber? Just click the subscribe button and also ring the bell so that you get notifications when we're live or when we post new content.